I'm Sass, and last month I got to do my extremely fabulous impression of the disappointment panda. I think I spoke something like that. If you didn't see it, go and watch it. It's cinematic history. Tonight, however...
Is it actually though?
Oscar-winning performance.
Seriously, yes. I'll just have a cry.
Just waiting for a BAFTA corner.
Yeah.
Tonight, however, it's all about the chimps. Not so good at a chimp impression.
I would debate that. Yeah, so I'm Kate, and we're looking forward to reviewing The Chimp Paradox by Professor Steve Peters. The mind management program for confidence, success and happiness. It's not promising much there, is it? So we'll see if it delivers.
Before we move on, you might have noticed that our lineup has changed this evening. Rosie's poorly bad, and so the awesome Claudia, yoga teacher extraordinaire, retreat organiser and writer for Om magazine, is joining us. But Ros, please get well soon. It's good to have you here, and I am genuinely excited.
I know. Thank you, girls.
About what you do have to say about the chimp paradox.
Yeah, so obviously I'm not in the talking profession, but I am a yoga teacher, and I am also trained in coaching, and I do have an interest in how the mind works. So that's one of the reasons why I'd read this book quite a long time ago. So there we go.
How long ago do you reckon you read it?
I think it was about 3 years ago when I read it.
Okay, so that'd be interesting, because I think what stays with you after 3 years.
Yeah, absolutely.
Definitely.
So it was 2012, wasn't it? So it's been out of a fair while now, but it's still
sells
highly regarded, isn't it?
Yeah.
Before we crack on, just a bit of a warning. Too much self-help can make you feel really bad. We're reviewing these books so that you don't have to read them all and find issues that you didn't know you had. But hopefully we can guide you with our crazy thoughts and insights into what we think works or not.
So, as per usual, we haven't discussed it between ourselves yet, so we don't know what each other thinks. I think Sass has done a little bit of research on what other people think, but I know that I haven't, because I'd rather come to it not knowing and just kind of create my own opinion and then see what the people think. Yes, so any buts and pauses are because we're not sure what each other are going to say. We may surprise each other.
So I'll kick off, because we do use the 3 sections when we score it on the website. We use look and feel, readability and impact. And so far on social media we've had some really interesting conversations. So somebody said that they've read it a number of times, they've given it to their partner, they've given it to their children. They think it's a really valuable model, and visualising the chimp when you start to feel irrational is a really useful way to make yourself pause for thought. Somebody else said, if it's just me and my chimp, we're fine, but when other people come into the mix, that's not so much. And somebody else said they've read it and can't recommend it enough to friends. It's fab and insightful. I even gave my chimp a name.
Well, in reference to that, I bought this book about maybe 4 years ago, probably about the same time as you bought it, because my fabulous colleague Amy recommended it to me, and I didn't read it because I'm really terrible. I'll go on Amazon and be like, oh, this book looks amazing. I'll get that, it'll cure my life. And then it sits on my shelf, I don't read it. And it doesn't even have a chance to cure my life. So, yeah, someone recommended it to me, and she says how fabulous it is all the time. So, yeah, that concurs.
So, look and feel, what do we think?
Well, I quite like it. It's got a little jaunty chimp on the front, and I think it's pretty well laid out. There's a few images in there, cartoons.
They're dead basic, aren't they? They're proper line drawing.
But also what I quite liked is that on the front it says, the mind programme that helped me win my Olympic goals, Sir Chris Hoy. So let's all just have a quick thought of Chris Hoy in his lycra. But actually, so if by using these techniques you can win a gold medal, then
surely there's got to be something.
I don't think that even with this I could win an Olympic gold medal in anything.
It might help you play snooker, because it's certainly helped Ronnie O'Sullivan, and also Victoria Pendleton, world and Olympic cycling champion. So
I'm definitely not winning an Olympic gold medal for cycling.
We maybe need to either buy some cycle shorts or
some of those padded ones.
Yes.
So why do we think it works? You know, I mean, from my perspective, what I love about it is that it puts the different parts of our brains and gives a name to it. So it's psychoeducation, isn't it? It's like this emotional part of my brain that is the chimp. So and he acts first. He has to come in and he has to sort of scan for danger.
So your
alert.
chimp's a he?
Yeah, clearly.
Oh!
Yeah, clearly he is.
Boy
Did you
chimp.
name our chimp?
I did. You didn't name your chimp. Why didn't you name your
I told
chimp?
you to name your chimp.
I don't, it felt a bit odd.
I didn't either, but the book also says that chimp doesn't like being told what to do. My chimp didn't like being told what to do and therefore did not name its chimp.
Well, I named my chimp, and it was the name that came naturally. And my chimp, and I still sometimes use this now, my chimp's called Bastard. And it just is. And
Because that's what he does.
yeah,
And the fact that you still do that now says a lot about the book, I think.
yeah, definitely.
it's
So
a he.
out of the three of us, I am the only one who gave the chimp a name.
But we've all given it a gender.
I'm not going to lie though, I read this book in like a day for this review. Maybe I will name my chimp.
Oh, okay. And so you didn't name your chimp?
No.
And why do you think that didn't happen? Did you read it as sass or as work sass?
Both. I think more work sass. But I think I struggled with the whole chimp thing, if I'm honest. Because as we go through, I get that the chimp is the emotional brain.
Is it because it's hairy?
Do you have an issue with hair generally?
Yeah.
Facial hair.
Chatty, you'll sort that out. Oh, that's
As
a whole
we
other
know,
blog. That's a
as we
whole other
know,
blog,
as
yeah.
we know.
It's a whole other blog.
I didn't name it because I think as I went along, I struggled with the whole planet thing, if I'm honest. I don't know how much you guys sort of got into that, but I get the chimp,
So
the
for
naughty,
so for
emotional
people
one.
that haven't read it, it divides the brain into three parts: the chimp, the computer, and the human. The human being the rational, the chimp being the irrational and emotional side of reasoning, the computer being your point of reference for both of the chimp and the human. And it kind of divides your world into a universe made up of planets, which are things like the communication planet. It's not called exactly that, but that's what it is. The divided planet where the human and the chimp live together.
Success,
the whole solar system.
happiness, stress.
Yes. And you travel around the planets through the book.
Well, I'm exhausted now. I mean,
Exactly.
and
given that it's
is that when I admit that actually I only got about, well, pretty much where my post-it notes stop.
The post-its.
That's pretty much as far as I got, because for me it started to get really complicated. So by the time it got to the planets, my chimp was literally having a party, and I just couldn't. I just felt like it got too complicated, and it just totally knocked me off.
It did. And I think there's two reasons for that. I think that the chimp and the human brain make sense. I get that. I can work with that. Danger, danger, alert, alert. You know, your chimp is so much stronger than your human brain, so you need to get in there and manage it. We can't take it over or control it, but we hopefully can try and manage it. But then when we start getting into planets, when did planets? The Planet of the Apes. I'm just thinking as I speak.
Oh my
Maybe that's
God!
If it
And
was
you're
me-
blonde. Shit!
If it was me, the chimps would belong in the jungle.
They do
Yeah.
run the jungle in the book, don't they?
Yes, and the human brain would be like the safari person.
So have they got a
being very
computer in the
sensible.
jungle? Sorry.
Tally stick.
Okay.
See, it didn't quite marry up for me. It didn't quite marry up.
I did like the simplification of the way the brain works. It's basically like CBT theory applied through the chimp, which is
I
good.
agree.
It's effective. It works for people. But it's a bit boring. Like I just felt like by the end of it, and I did read it in a day, so it might be that if you pace yourself a bit more, do you know what I mean? Like, and have more time to reflect on it, you might take it in better.
He does talk about reflection time, doesn't he?
Yeah,
Right at the beginning, he says that
does.
you need to take time out.
Yeah, and I
because
didn't.
changes
I
take
just
time.
absolutely ran the whole thing in a day. I read it today, and that's why I could name the planets and stuff because I've just read it. But I just find it a bit hard going. Like you said with your chimp, you know, when like you're reading and then you're thinking, oh, what about that? Oh no, I've got to keep reading this. Oh, what I could do? Oh, I've got to keep reading this. Like I kept
Your
finding my
chimp's
mind
saying,
going.
put that book down, it's dangerous.
The chimp is saying
that.
it's time for The Apprentice.
Yeah. Actually, my chimp was saying, why didn't we watch Celebs Go Dating?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Harmony.
So for me, my overall sort of feeling was I loved the first few chapters. I loved the way the chimp was given the emotional brain, the human was given the thinking brain, and actually it jumps in first, and we need to learn how to work with that. After that,
I do think it went downhill.
lost it.
And also, you notice the chapters get a lot thinner. So the planets, it starts out with the planets about the chimp and the human and the computer. Then it goes into like the success, happiness, all of those ones towards the end. And they're like much smaller chapters as well. It's like he ran out of steam. Like he had a lot to say to start with, and then he was kind of like, and it felt to me like you were rehashing the same stuff. And to me that just gets very boring.
Well, your psychological universe, you've got you, which is divided between the chimp and the human. Then you've got the planet of others, the planet connect, which is about communication.
Yeah, and I still thought that was quite good.
The planet of the real world, so that's about existing in the world that we live in. The planet of shadows, which is about your health. The planet of success, which
I felt from there, from the shadows, that's where it started to go a bit like.
And happiness. So maybe we just weren't happy by the time we got to the end.
Don't get me wrong. I think it's really good the way that it simplifies the theory, and it does. It's not easy theory to simplify, but I think he makes it as accessible as possible. Maybe it's just the fact I read it too.
Do you not think it's like all good theories? That they start off with a really nice, simple idea that we all understand, and then they think we need to be a bit cleverer than this. So we need to be a bit more complicated.
Yeah, because he starts introducing lots of analogies. There are quite a lot of analogies in here, aren't there? Like, it starts out with them, then they had more in, you've got your goblins, you've got your gremlins, you've got these other things. But I was thinking,
This is not Game of Thrones.
No.
Yeah.
Goblins and gremlins, are they not the same thing?
Well, no. And that's the other problem I have with this book, actually.
Oh my god.
Yeah, I've got another problem. So you've got goblins and gremlins, okay? Your gremlins and your goblins are very similar in that they are sort of like negative thought processes that become ingrained. So that makes sense. However, your goblins have been there, I think that's right. Your goblins are things that happened or became ingrained before you were 7 years old. Yes. Your gremlins are things that happened after you were 7 years old.
Oh, okay.
Now what he says in the book, and there's one page on this, he says goblins can't be changed, you've got to learn to deal with it. Gremlins, after the age of 7, can be because they are soft wired in, I think he calls it, so you can unwire them and rip them out. Well, that's all well and good, but what the hell do I do with the goblins? He doesn't mention the goblins again. So all these goblins I've got from before the age of 7, which for people with deep-rooted issues, is probably going to have happened before you were 7 years old. That's the whole point, that's why they're hardwired. What the hell do they do then?
What do we do with the goblins?
It doesn't mention them again. It literally doesn't mention them again. It says we need to, you have to learn to live with goblins because you can't get rid of them because they're too hardwired into your brain. And then never mentions them that I could see. And I checked the index. I went to the index, looked at goblins, and there's one page. It's good.
One of the bits that I really liked, and this appealed to the yoga teacher in me, was when he talks about left brain, right brain. Yeah. Okay, so we talk a lot about that kind of thing in yoga, particularly in the meditation, particularly about how to relax, but that, you know, that left brain is very much about the sort of logical side of things, it's the scientific side, and the right brain is that creative, dynamic, artistic side of things. And for me, that bit, I really like that kind of analogy because it brings me on to one of my favourite books in the world, A Stroke of Insight. So anybody that's interested in how the brain works, Jill Balti-Taylor, she's done an Oprah Super Soul Sunday, she's done TED Talks, neuroscientist, but had a massive stroke in her late 30s. So it's actually about how this Harvard neuroscientist actually almost was watching her own stroke and knew exactly what was happening in the different parts of her head, but then how she had this sort of 18-month period where her right brain was in charge, and so that the logical side of her, you know, was silent, and how she just had this beautiful enlightened experience. So for me, this sort of left brain, right brain, the logical thinking, the emotional thinking is very much in terms of yin and yang, dark and light, happiness and sadness. You know, everything. You know, there's no rain without the sun. There's no light without the dark.
And this is about balance, isn't it?
So actually, I really like that. I like the bit about you know, how you have this chimp, because I do have a really overactive mind. No. I do. No. I've got a very yang personality. So actually, yang. Oh, it's so funny. I have a young but yang personality. But yeah, so I mean, for me, this the visual of it, like you said, of this chimp is amazing. And even now, I can sometimes still think, oh, it's the chimp. And you almost can sort of send it on its way. So
Yeah.
I like that. And then the last bit that, it was about this managing it and not controlling it. I just thought, it's actually about developing your own techniques. So for me, it was the yoga. It was learning how to do different breathing techniques, actually working really hard at meditation because I'm terrible at it, because my chimp is going crazy all the time. So but then when it started going into the planets and stuff, I just got lost. So actually, I didn't read anymore because I just thought, well, I've taken from that the bits that work. When it started getting all complicated, the chimp was just going, and I just thought, no. There we go. I've done a chimp experience for you.
Fabulous. Panda last month.
Yeah, panda. Yeah, give me a banana. So there we go.
But that's interesting because what you did is you took the chimp and that really resonated with you. But your methods for like managing the chimp are not the ones that he talks about, which makes sense to me because you've used a mix of things, like a holistic way of managing your chimp, which probably would be more my cup of tea as well.
But I could talk about the chimp in a yoga class.
Yes.
And I think that would work really well.
Yeah, it would.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it would.
And I use it in
about
sessions.
quietening the mind,
absolutely.
focusing on the breath. If that little chimp's going crazy in there,
Because it's trying to protect
send
you,
it
it's
on
trying
its
to keep you safe, it's trying to
Yeah.
look after you,
Yeah.
isn't it?
I felt like I could see, I think maybe I'm not, but I consider myself to be a fairly, what they would call the human type of person. And I think my human's already quite strong. Like, I tend to be quite calm in situations and not let my emotions overtake. Sometimes it's probably a weakness, but like that's how I am. So for me, I don't have that much trouble, I don't think, that much trouble controlling the chimp. I could see it in people that I know who really do, who are like the opposite to me, like the yin and yang, like the opposite
friends
way.
with your chimp.
I wouldn't say we're mates.
go for a drink with the chimp.
I'm trying to avoid him.
Go with a banana.
Yeah. So your chimp's a boy
I'm
too.
I'm
Your chimp. Why are all our chimps boys?
That is weird, isn't it?
It is weird. It is weird.
Oh my God, we're just oppressed females.
That's really
Our
bizarre,
chimps are
isn't it?
penis wielding oppressors.
Well, I've got control of my chimps. I'm doing all right. I've got my chimp on a leash. I don't know what that is.
I can feel my mum coming up. We need to just calm this.
So as soon as I said penis,
wielding.
sorry.
That makes a lot of sense. Really.
Yeah, hey, we've all
So
got
what-
male chimps.
So what?
Yeah.
Yeah. How fascinating. So what we're saying is, we loved the chimp human thing. That made sense. The emotion in the human. We dislike the planets.
Well, I stopped
Doesn't
reading
make
then.
sense.
It just all started
I didn't
getting
dislike the planets, but I just
confused.
think he got too many of them. If he got carried away, I think if he'd kept with the chimp, the computer, the human. He then goes into some stuff about how you control the chimp and like CBT
Manage
techniques
it,
essentially to manage the chimp. They make sense. I think you could add half the book. Personally, I think it's too
I
long.
agree.
I think you could have had half the book.
I agree.
So you're just reading the same things but applied to different areas. I
I
can
think
find
what
it
it
myself.
does do beautifully is when I'm working with people and they sort of say, why am I doing this? Why am I doing this?
Yes.
Why is my reaction like this? And my brain knows that that's not okay. And it's a really great way of going, it's your chimp. You know, it's your emotional brain. It's not you self-sabotaging or necessarily being difficult. It's just your chimp going in because it thinks you're in danger and it thinks you're in threat. You just need to have a bit of word with your chimp.
That's the other thing about this.
You're managing your chimp.
You are.
Yeah.
What it doesn't really mention, I don't think, and I might be wrong, I may have missed it, but the thing I don't think it mentions either is it has this section about when the chimp is engaged, when the human brain is engaged, and when the computer is engaged. So if there's danger, then the chimp is engaged.
So I just want to sing high voltage. danger. Sorry.
Yeah.
What about that?
Maybe I'm frying. I'm
Yeah.
not sure what this is.
And I have absolutely no idea what
It's a
At my age,
song.
at my age.
No, I'm older than you.
I'm not going to go any further because I can't sing.
No, 49.
49.
More
She's
than you.
Oh yeah, you are. You're loads older than me.
On that note.
Oh.
Yes. So what I wasn't sure about was the stuff about when your chimp brain's engaged. So it talks about when your chimp brain's engaged, which is fine. And if people have a level of control over themselves, and they could see that. And seeing as the chimp is engaged when they feel in danger, what it doesn't really talk about is people's different levels of when they feel they're in danger. Because if people say, for example, I'm not to get technical, but say if they're hypervigilant, if there's someone who's very nervous, has been through traumatic stuff, they might be like engaged all the time with their chimp because their chimp always senses danger.
Your amygdala's going to be firing, isn't it?
Yeah, but it don't really talk about that at all. So that, and they're going to be less in control of their chimp being engaged because they're going to see, like, they're potentially going to see more risk in more places. And I don't think it really addresses that. It kind of, I think this is good for somebody who is pretty psychologically normal, hasn't had anything particularly bad happen, but does feel that they sometimes are too impulsive or too sort of acts on their feelings rather than rationally. This book fits for that person and wants to understand that a little bit, I think. So who would you say it works for? Who can you see it working for?
I think it would work for somebody who has got a very strong inner critic that is very much in the habit of talking in a very negative way to themselves, that cannot shake the habit of I'm bad, I'm terrible, I'm a failure, oh it always goes wrong for me, that always happens to me.
Danger.
Yeah, and I am very much, I can very easily slip into that. You know, particularly at the time of the month when the hormones are raging, all of a sudden I'm like, oh, this always happens to me.
So you've got a hormonal male chimp.
I've got a hormonal male chimp.
Fabulous.
I've got a pansexual. I have got a pansexual chimp.
That's fabulous.
I have got a politically correct pansexual. My chimp clearly is not on HRT. And is not using clary sage essential oil.
I used that to induce birth, it didn't work.
Oh, do you know what? They hide it in Stafford in Holland and Barrett because people keep nicking it.
Yeah, why? Yeah, that is true. Because I went in.
Who do you think?
Why would people nick clary sage?
Who do you think it would?
Because the hormones are. Yeah.
So they started shoplifting.
That's a true story.
I know it's a true story because I had the same.
Is it a chimp? Is it a chimp?
What, nicking the clary sage?
It's not working if it is.
Clearly not. Yeah.
Yeah, so I think it would work for people, like you say, strong inner critic. I also think for people who struggle very much with blaming others for their issues, because there's a lot in there about how your chimp operates on assumptions about other people, emotionally reasons. So who are thinking, like things that you were saying, but also thinking, you know, they think this about me, or they think that, or because they've done that, they don't like me, blah, 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 blah. So for people who struggle with blaming other people for their problems, or mind reading other people, I think this book is great for them to give you a basic understanding. Very good, would recommend it for that.
I think it's good for basic psychoeducation about the differences of the part of our brains, and I think to help us understand that actually we are not deliberately being difficult or anxious or stressed. It's a natural part. Our amygdalas fly in, and actually we're going danger, danger, danger.
But what if you are actually the type of person that likes to be awkward? Would you not then turn around and just say, it wasn't me, it wasn't me, it was the chimp?
Yeah.
But what he says in the book is that...
Or was this a bit that I didn't read?
I do remember seeing it because I thought that.
I
see a bit in there where it says that it's your responsibility. A little bit like in the book we reviewed last month where it said difference between blame and responsibility. Your responsibility to control the chimp.
Oh yeah, manage not control. That's I've got to post it in there.
Manage.
So it must have. Yes, there we go. Manage not control.
You are not responsible for the nature of your chimp, but you are responsible for managing it.
3 common ways to manage your chimp: exercise, books, and bananas. Bananas keep you regular.
On the bananas note,
Banana a day, like a racehorse.
So,
sorry.
Scores on the doors. You guys, I know you want to do it off the cuff.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we're doing look and feel, readability, and impact. Yeah. So look and feel. Do we do it at 5 or 10? 5? 10. 10.
Just pick a number. Pick a number.
Out of 10.
Yeah.
So look and feel, for me, you know, it's a decent book, isn't it? But it's just about a 7. It's nothing special. It's not
7 out of 5.
7 out of 5. 7 out of 10. 7 out of 10.
Okay. Yeah. 5. I mean, it's like standard. It's not like
5 too.
Yeah.
It's just a book, isn't it? It's like a paperback book.
And I mean, I've given, there's an extra mark in there for the chimp. It's because I think he's a bit of a little...
So cute. Yeah. You get a blog with his face on. Readability, I would give it a 5. I think it says it's simple. I you know, if us three, all involved in well-being, health, psychology, find it a little bit tedious, then surely everybody is. So I would give it a 5.
I've got 3 degrees and I can speak basic Danish. You know, I'm not a complete moron. Yeah, jeg taler lidt dansk.
What did you say?
Yeah, thanks. I said I speak a little bit of Danish.
Oh, excellent.
Yeah, see, I'm not stupid. But yeah, that, like I say, I gave up when we got to the planets because it just, yeah.
So what would you give it?
Oh, can I even score it because I didn't finish the book?
Yeah, that's
Is that valid?
That's the review, isn't it?
I don't know. Well, okay, so the bits that I read, I actually really liked. So, I mean, I probably would say like a 6.5.
Readability, I don't think I would have finished it if it wasn't for the fact I was doing this. Do you know what I mean? If I just picked it up, like
So you, okay. Yeah.
I don't think I would have finished it. So I would have
Where
read
would
the
you have
first
stopped?
half.
Oh,
I'd have
okay.
read the first half, I think, and then I'd have got like the Ss saying the same things.
You never got over the goblins, did you?
Goblins pissed me off.
Yeah.
I went a lot at the index and then I went putting it back up again. It was over.
So how many?
So I think 6.
Okay.
Because it is good. It does make complex stuff.
Why have we not got cards? It could have been like
We've
Strictly.
not made them yet.
Oh
We
my
need to do
god.
those.
It's just like amateur hour.
So impact.
Well, like, let's be
Listen, I'm not
honest.
coming back unless I get a
Yeah.
dressing room.
Well, how about next time I actually start the video? We've already done this once. It's the second go.
So impact and inspiration for me.
Yeah.
5.
Oh really?
Yeah.
Well, you see, for me, it did have quite a big impact.
Yeah, you're
and
still
I have
thinking about
said to a number of people, have you read the Chimp Paradox? Because actually, even though I didn't stick with it, the bits that I read, you know, just a bit about that untamed chimp that actually you can literally send away, really, really stayed with me.
Agreed.
So I would give it a solid chimp, like 8.
Awesome. Awesome. For me, the 5 is because I love the first bit, but I just think the last bit, you could put it down and think, God, I'm really fucking stupid. I can't be.
Well,
bothered."
I mean, I have heard your daughter say that.
On many occasions. What would you give it?
I am gonna go with an 8 because I think that it wasn't hugely impactful on me personally because I already kind of knew that stuff about your brain. If I hadn't known that stuff about my brain, it would have had a really big impact. I think the whole thing about you are not your thoughts, that your chimp isn't you, that you can separate yourself out from it, that there's ways of controlling it. I think it puts it in a really accessible way for people, and I think that's pretty impactful from a psychoeducational point of view.
So what did you say you'd score? 8. Okay.
Okay.
So, Prof. Steve Peters, he's done okay, I think. We'll forgive him.
He just needs to
buy
learn
each
to
other-
stop talking.
Buy each other mugs for Christmas. You can have a hoodie with Bastard on it.
Yeah.
It's time to introduce our
Our next
January book.
International bestseller from 2018, 12 Rules for Life by Jordan B. Peterson.
I've not heard of this book.
I haven't either.
Apparently it is awesome.
Oh, really?
I think he takes common sense to the max from what I've heard. He's been called the greatest thinker of our time, so I'm really
Yeah, but who
Wow.
said that? Is that just the PR blurb?
Yeah.
Because
I
I
said
could,
that about myself.
because I could put on my website that I am the greatest. I am the greatest yoga teacher of all time. Just because I wrote it and put it online does not make it the truth. It clearly is, but
Just because you made a Facebook account and you commented on your own stuff,
Yeah.
doesn't mean it's true.
yeah. Oh yeah. By this month's. Oh no, well it won't be this month. Seeing as oh my god, this is like X Factor. It's like Strictly on the Sunday night when we've all got to pretend it wasn't filmed on the Saturday. So anyway, the December Om Yoga magazine features an article written by my good self on self-care for yoga teachers because we're actually pretty crap at it, and none other than SAS Superstar is quoted in here as well. So there we go.
just a bit of a plug for
Yeah,
our yoga
thank you very
book.
much. Yeah.
So don't forget, if you're really not so bored by now, you can find, follow and chat with
My
us
mother
on
will still
social
be
media.
watching. It's fine.
Hi, Jean.
Hi, Jean.